Hello guys, I hope you're all keeping fit and well. I've not been too well the last couple of weeks. I don't know what it is. Just got aches and pains, I think. Maybe it's my age. I did have a big crash on my mountain bike a couple of weeks ago and I've got a bad neck and, I should be older and wiser, but I'm not. But anyway, I've been doing so much. I've actually been working on the Aprilia kind of non-stop, and I've forgotten about this truck's been sitting on the shelf. And I managed to get the front wheel in the Aprilia, and I've sort of got to a stage now where I'm just waiting for some more parts, some fuel lines, oil lines, little bits and pieces like that. But it's all together now, looking, two wheels on, and I can actually push it around. So anyway, that's coming along. We'll do another little video on that. So this is where we are at the moment with my Toyota truck. Now this is a Tamiya, a proper Tamiya truck. It's not the clone like I did before, the Bruiser. And I've managed to get it kind of a lot lower than the clone, the Bruiser clone. I've used the 2-cylinder Toyan engine, as you know. I managed to get that in there as low as possible and as far forward as possible. I've cut the bonnet out and I've done the exhaust. I haven't made the hinges yet, so this is what we've got under the bonnet at the moment. This is how far we've got. It's kind of sitting there quite nice. I think I've got to actually just raise this up slightly because it's just sitting, just touching the top of the rocker box cover. I can trim. This part here is actually the window assembly, which is in there, and I've got to make the mounts like I normally do come off the front. I mean, I've got the engine as far forward in the chassis as it go, but there's still a lot of room between the grille and the fan. But it's not a problem. I've got to cut all these slats out, which is a nightmare of a job. It takes you ages. I know Dennis actually did get a grill with it all cut out, a metal one, but I couldn't find it, and on my clone I actually cut them all out, so I've got to do the same to this to get the air in. But it looks like it should be in there, I mean, that's quite a big engine for the truck, like I said to you before. I'm a bit dubious how the thing's going to handle, because it's never been kind of, a bit like a skateboard. But I have found there's a lot of slack in the suspension. It moves from side to side, and that actually alters the steering. I was messing about a bit today, and you can see that it's actually moving the steering and stuff like that. So I'm going to try and rebush everything and get all the play out of it and try and make it like a little bit more solid. Now you can see the exhaust. I've got 20 exhausts on there. Again, not an easy job. I think I've gone through 3 metres of alley and 3 helicopter skids. I actually took my brand new helicopter skids off my newly repaired Llama, and I bent them up to make the rest of the exhaust, which is quite a complicated sort of setup. But the exhaust itself, the diameter is, I think the manifolds are like 6.5 inside diameter. Well, the only tube I could really get was, I think, 5.5, something like that. And I think it was only 8mm outside diameter. But it was a, like a thick walled tube. So I wouldn't say it was easy to bend, but it was easier than, some of it, because it's quite a complicated bend. The exhaust again was the biggest headache on the truck up till now. And actually cutting this bonnet out, I mean, this, can you see how thick that is? This is a Tamiya body. Now, that took me ages to cut out, because you start scoring it down these lines. So what you actually do is you actually score down these lines here, the actual shut lines, along there like that, and round, and you keep doing it and you're going over and over it. But I thought to myself, my God, how long am I going to be? It took me ages. So the clone one is quite thin. I would say, looking at it, I've got it out here, it's kind of like half the thickness of that bonnet. So the Tamiya body is a real tough tough thing, and it is really hard to cut. You know, it took me, you know, hours to get through that, and my fingers were killing me. I went through loads and loads of scalpel blades, you know, but it was it's something you've got to do, you know. I've got to make the hinges yet. I'm going to make the hinges the same as the other one. So as you open the bonnet, it just goes forward on a cam and then lifts up. So, you know, it should look nice, sort of sitting up there like that. So you can see that running, you know. I mean, all that wiring's probably going to come out of this. All this wiring here is for the old setup with the headlights. But I'm going for the full-blown, like I have on the other clone, of all the lights, brake lights, reverse lights, and all that kind of thing. You buy one of their modules. They're not expensive, and that's probably what I'm going to do. So I'll take the body off now so you can see kind of how the exhaust goes. Like I say, I've got to make a mounting, an alley mount in the front so I can screw the body on from the front, because that's what I've done on the other two trucks. You know, I've got my 6-wheeler out here and the Toyan, and I both use a metal plate off of the front, which seems to work rather well. It's easy to take on and off. Because the thing with these trucks, when they've got electric start and everything, you know, you don't have to keep taking the body off. If you put a remote fuel filler on them, you can just fill them up, press a button, off they go, and you know, it's a no-fuss car, really. I mean, I've not run this engine up yet, so I don't know. I've seen a few others that, you know, doing it. They sound quite nice. So this is what we've got so far. If you can see the exhaust there, it's quite elaborate, sort of bending, you know, the pipe that tight. I made up a little bender, and it's not ideal because these engines like to breathe. These 4-strokes like to breathe nice and free, you know, and I've ended up with quite a small bore tube, and it's quite long. But, you know, I'll see how it goes. Maybe, you know, it's just so hard to get anything to, you know, if you get anything thin-walled or big, you just cannot bend those tight bends, you know. There must be someone out there who can do it. I've looked for lots of stuff, and I can't find anything, because, you know me, I want it to look scale. I don't want bits of silicone rubber on there and tyre wraps and all that kind of thing. I want it to kind of look like the real thing, and a proper, you know, exhaust and stuff like that. Now, if I just show you the underneath, you can see how kind of complicated the thing is. Now, I mean, it starts, you got it from here, so it comes out of the engine here. So you got this. You know, that is the tight bend. That one, this one here. And this one's even tighter because it's got to come down. And it's very hard to get them matched the same, you know. What I found with this tubing, I heat it up with my heat gun. And it's kind of, I find, as soon as the flame goes red, you can see it on the alley. You're sort of heating it up very gently, because you've got to be careful, because it will just melt and fall off. So when you heat the alley up, as soon as you see the flame start to go red, that's when you stop. And if you can bend it while it's hot, you stand more of a chance of, you know, getting a reasonable bend. But even then, it's not always. It does put a flat on it, or, you know, like these got a bit of a flat on them. But what I've done is I've actually come out with this thin wall tube out to here. And then we've gone right up to a 10mm tube, which you can see. Yep, you can see it starts from here. So we've only got a thin wall, and then it comes out to these twin pipes, the exit here. I've made these clamps. Now this clamp, this is a good fit over this alley. So what I've done is I've actually drilled and reamed 2 holes, and then I split them down the middle, and I screw them together. So that is actually clamping the 2 pipes together. So I can always dismantle it and stuff like that, you know. I know I've done a bit of alley soldering on the other truck and things like that, but it's not been 100% successful, you know. And that I've kind of thought, well, I'll do this sort of belts and braces. So we've got a clamp here that I made. This is quite a smaller one with 2.5 screws. And I made all these sort of quite big. This one here actually screws up on the chassis. So that actually screws it together, And this one here is just to support. I might put a little bar off of here just to support that, but I mean, it's really, really strong. And I know that just looks like a bend like that, but it isn't. You know, I had to bend them that shape, and then I had to bend them sort of slightly down, and then I had to put like a set in the pipe here to clear the axle so I can get full suspension travel. You know, and it's all right doing one of them. You've got to do two of them, and they're both slightly different sizes. And it is, you know, a hell of a job. I mean, I'm not happy with these skinny pipes. I'm going to see how it runs, because I think the thing's going to be overpowered anyway, you know, to be honest with you. And, you know, what I've tried to do, I know Dennis Dempsey, he's kind of having a bit of problems, I think. You know, he loves the engine, but I think he's having a little bit of problem with the gearing. He's using a Kosho box, which is similar to mine, which is a later one to mine. Whereas this one I'm running here is out of one of their really old cars, the Baja Field Buggy, I think. There was a real cheap car that came out back in the day, I think in the 90s. And the gearbox is very, very strong. You know, I've got one in a buggy with a high-power motor in, and it runs really well. But the good thing I've got here, all this is a forward and reverse. My 2-speed is on the top here. So I've got the 2-speed, so I can run that off of there. It goes to an idler gear, and that runs down to this gear, which runs the gearbox. Now, I think Dennis is having a few problems with it being a bit low gears. I always know these 4-strokes, they like to be sort of geared up. So what I do, I've managed to find the biggest kind of, I mean, this is what you need. The clutch bell here needs to be like the big diameter. Bigger the better, because you can always sort of gear it down with a spur. So that's a big diameter. And then for your high gear on here, you need to go as small as you can. Now, Kosho do quite a range of gears. And I always go for, with my 4-strokes, I go for the smallest gears because, you know, originally these were made for the little OS 15s and stuff like that, or the Kosho engines. Excuse me. And they rev a lot higher than the 4-stroke. Now, the 4-stroke's got a lot of torque. So you can gear the hell out of them, and you know, because I don't want it to be slow. It's not a crawler. I want it to be like my other truck, like my clone, my Bruiser clone with the Toyan single engine in it is absolutely perfect. I mean, I've used it so much, and it's got a really good turn of speed, you know, and it will crawl if you want it to crawl, but it's got a beautiful gear change. Everything on it, I can't fault it. It starts, ticks over. It's a lovely thing, and I'm hoping this is going to be the same. You know, so I'm lucky because, you know, I got lots of choices that I can change here. I mean, I can obviously, I think I'm on a smaller one here, so I can't really do a lot about the gearing on this one here. These two gears, I might be able to change the first gear, but I'm lucky because I can also change this one, and I can change this one. So I can get a smaller one of those and a bigger one of those, and I can change the gearing through this. You know, and maybe I could shim it up or down or whatever I have to do, or if I get the right size pinions, because this is off a clutch bell, a Kosho clutch bell, and you can get lots of these. And this gear here is a Traxxas one, and I know you can get quite a few of those. So, you know, to me, I think it's going to be, you know, a bit faster than I really want it to be. But, well, you know, I haven't started it up, so we'll have to wait and see how it goes. But they do sound a nice engine. You know, I've made the exhaust like a twin outlet. I don't know if you can see that. Let's move my bonnet out of the way. Right, yeah. So I've made this like a twin outlet because I could have put them out the back, but I've done that before. And I think with the body on, these look quite cool sitting out the back there like that, and they're a big bore pipe. I might put a little flange on the edge of them. I'm not sure yet. It was a mate of mine who said do them like that, because I made all this up and I didn't know kind of where to go with the back ones, to run them into a silencer or run them out the side. If you put them in front of the wheel, sort of here or something, and then you end up with oil over your tyre or something. So it's really got to come out of there. So, I'm quite pleased with these. Again, got a nice bracket on there. Once you clamp them up, it's really strong. Now, the steering was another headache, because I did leave this open here to put the steering in there. It did have the servo in there, and it worked really nice. But, I tried to get the servo on the front here, like they put it on the front and, goes that. But it was absolutely awkward. And I didn't realise, let's move this one out of the way. I didn't realise that from the front here, I had quite a lot of room. So I could have put the servo on there. There's a lot of room between the body and the actual front of the chassis. So I could have actually put the servo there and run it down. But I've kind of put it there, and I've managed to get the original bell crank on there. And I had, it was beautiful, until I went to put the exhaust on. And no matter what I did, I tried to get around, the servo was nice there, and a direct pull on it, I'm not 100% happy with it, how it is, but, it works quite well. Let's just fire it up. The radio, that is. Like the engine's not seeing fuel at the moment, but that's quite a powerful servo. And they're really squishy tyres. I think it's going to be okay, to be honest with you. I remember like the old Total Hilux, they used to have a great long steering rod and stuff like that, so I think it's going to be okay. I might make up just a little bracket in there just to hold that nice and straight, so it doesn't rock around, but I'm not too overly fussed with it. I think I had problems with the throttle before when I saw you. The last video I had a problem with the throttle, but I've got that working quite well now. I've also got the cut off, so I can stop the engine. So that shuts the engine off. We've got the throttle. I tried to sort of time them up and get the openings the same on them. Not easy, a bit fiddly. I suppose you need to get it running really. I lowered the tank down because the tank was a bit higher, and it was just hitting on the bed of the truck, so I've made some spaces and I've lowered that down. The brake works really, really well. We've got a nice brake on there. We've got the 2-speed, which is on this. That's the 2-speed working through the little Kosho gearbox. We've got the starter and the glow is all mixed like I always do, so that's glowing the plugs, and it's also turning the engine over. It sounds quite nice actually. I am tempted to put some fuel in it and try it, but I think I'll wait. Hang on, let's just zoom out. I'll wait and get finished first. I mean, I think at the moment it only requires the hinges for the bonnet and the actual mounts before I can run it. I've actually, I don't know if you can see, I've actually put all the wires in some casing. So I've got the glow plug wires that come up here, 2 wires. I'm using one energizer or glow igniter, whatever you want to call it. So I'm using one and I'm running 2 plugs off it. I don't know if it'll last, but I've had it switched on for 10 minutes and nothing happened. So I thought, well, I'll stick it in the car and give it a go. So I've got most of the radio in here. So, the only wires you'll really see are these ones off the back here. So, looking at that, I've got everything in there. There's just so much stuff in here, you know, with relays and switches and everything in there. The receiver's in there as well. So I've got it looking nice and neat. These wires run up here. So all you really see is 2 plug caps, and I've got the brushless motor there wires, so I'll get them apart if I need to. The battery sits in a little tray at the back there. I've got a little carbon tray in there, what the actual exhaust bolts up to. So I might put another stay in for the exhaust. I'm thinking of maybe I'll have to have some sort of, like the Bruiser clone had, you know, like in tie rods that come back to stop the axle from, you know, moving. The front one especially, the front one always wants to try and sort of twist like that. The shocks on here are absolutely horrendous. I'm hoping to get another set of those. I know they're lots of money, but those Old Man Emu shocks, the yellow ones, you know, they're beautiful shocks. They work really well. I mean, I can't believe how that my clone that works so well, you know, on those. I'll show you. I've got it. I've been fiddling about with it today. Now this is, you guys have seen this before. And this is my little single cylinder engine one. This is one of my favourite models that I've built. It's a beautiful thing. It runs and runs and runs. All I do is grease up the rockers on the top there, and it gives me no problem whatsoever. But you can see the shocks there. Now these are like over 80 quid a set, you know, but they're well worth it. It absolutely, you know, transform. It doesn't really bounce for a truck like this. I mean, all leaf, you know, solid axle leaf sprung trucks, they are going to bounce a little bit, but you know, I've taken over some jumps and stuff like that, and you know, she runs really good. And you know, the handling is kind of, you know, look, it's kind of dead. Now, if I do that on my, I'll just put this one away. Now, this is what I'm dealing with at the moment on this. It's just like there's no damp in there at all, so I've got to get that to, you know, to just go bonk. So these are only these are just friction shocks, aren't they? They've got like grease in them. You know, they're pretty pants really. They're, you know, like I said to you before, I don't know why Tamiya made this truck and they decided to fit. They go for all the trouble of anodising the shocks and, you know, big thick, you know, I mean, there's nothing right about them shocks in the friction grease and stuff like that. So, I mean, I had the same problem with the other, with the black Bruiser clone. I had these standard shocks that it came with, and I actually got them working quite well, because they're not as bad as you think. If you spend a bit of time on them, I mean, you're working quite well. But I wanted, because it was black, I wanted it sort of yellow shocks, because most of the off-road cars you see have either got yellow springs or they've got yellow shocks, something like that. And they are, you're paying for a branded name, because, you know, they make real shocks, you know. Old Man Emu, they make like real shocks as well. If you look it up or Google it, you'll come up with like the real shocks. So these are a miniature version of the shocks, and you know, they look really nice and they do work nice. So I'm probably going to have to fork out, you know, £84 or whatever for a set of shocks for this. But you know, I've come so far, and I think it's looking quite nice. There's a few other little things I'm not that happy with. The tyres, for instance. Now, these tyres I bought, they're the same as what I've got on a Bruiser, but these are a lot softer. And I'm not too sure about how it's going to roll around, you know. I might change that sort of tyre, or, you know, I think it's, you know, it's a crawling sort of tyre, and I think I might have to go for something a bit more solid. What I was telling you about is the sort of linkages on these. You know, they've got so much slop in all of that, and if you can see the wheels are actually steering. So I want to get rid of all that slop on there. Most of it's coming from the springs. Can you see how much that is? So, you know, if I can make them make some nice like proper bushings for them with ream sizes, so I can get that axle, to get rid of some of that play, because that is actually steering the wheels, and it's like a pendulum. It sort of goes like that. As you do that, up and down, and it actually turns the wheels. So I've got to look into that. The spring weight is quite good. I mean, that's a heavy engine in there, and it just sinks about enough, and if anything, I think it might be a bit too solid. It's got quite a bit, but a lot of that is the tyres, I'm hoping if I can try and find like a stronger tyre with a different sort of sidewall, because that is very kind of, because I don't, I've no idea what speed this truck's going to do. Like I say, it's one of them things that I'm just going to have to suck it and see. I'm really happy with the angle of the drive shafts. These, because of that gearbox, I could get that down on these. I made them spacers. I don't know if you remember the other ones I had. I had some anodized blue spacers here. But what I've done, they was okay, but they could move around on their own. So I've made two long ones like that. I think they're about 20 mil, I think. So that gearbox comes down 20 mil, and you've got a lovely angle on there. It's just like the real, the actual electric version. My Bruiser clone down there, the angle, if you run the Revo gearbox, the angle of that front drive shaft is, horrendous. It's sort of right up there, it comes down at such an angle. I don't know how it still runs, but it does. I mean, it does the job, but I wanted to have the two drive shafts at that angle so I could get a nice, there's no friction there. Everything on this truck is as free as you like. The other thing I've got to do is make an air filter. I'm not sure to make two separate ones or to go with a box like I've seen a lot of the lads do. They put a box on there. I'm not sure whether to go with that. The pain in the neck is with these carburetors, I don't know why they do it. I believe on their 4-cylinder engine, they run in these like round now. So instead of having this, I don't know if you can see that. Now these here, they're like an oval shape, and to try and get anything to fit on there, I don't think they sort of thought that out when they made the engine. I mean, Toyan made, fantastic things, I mean, they are a breath of fresh air, but they've not thought this out, because all the stuff you buy, you have to buy something like soft, and you have to try and tie wrap it around that shape, and it's not good. If they was to just make them round, you could fit kind of a lot of aftermarket filters, because there's a lot of room here between the body and the engine. So that's kind of where I am at with this at the moment. I'm trying to make it look scale as possible. It's so much lower. If I put the other one next to it, I think I've got it about 20 mil lower than this one. Like this was my first build. You can, I don't know if you, hang on, I'll just turn the camera around. I don't know if you can see, let's just zoom out a bit. You can see where the engine is on both these trucks. Let's move the 6-wheeler over here. See if we can get some, if I'll get this into shot. Oh, I don't want to drop that one. There. And I think if you can see how much lower that is, just move the camera around. You can see where the engine is on that. So I've really got this sitting very low, which is what I was after. I'm not a fan of trucks being miles up in the air. I wanted this one to be kind of to be low, and I think there, can't really see it that well, but if you see the roof line there, you can see how much lower this one is, and the gap between the wheel arches and stuff like that. So, you know, this is what I was looking for with this truck. I mean, I've got the other one down as low as possible, but the thing with the Bruiser clone is that the chassis actually goes up in the air at the front. It goes up and round. So, you know, when you put the engine in, you have to sort of put the engine up higher, which makes everything sort of go up. The gearbox goes down lower. But, you know, with this one now, I've got this sitting quite low. All this wiring's going to go. This is just, I had a set of lights when it was electric, you know. But that's quite scale now, I think. You know, it's not got great big gaps in the arches. Whoops. Yeah, so, you know, I'm getting quite pleased with this. I mean, the hinge is a really fiddly thing to make. That's the next thing I've got to make. You know, I'll copy the others, and I think I might make them out of a different material, because I made the others out of alley, and the little cam on them started wearing, so I might use a bit of stainless steel, something like that, and sort of change design a little bit. I mean, at least I know how to get that to work now, because that's not easy to get that to open and shut. You know, it has to go forward and open like that. So, you know, I'm quite happy with where it's going. If I can get some more of those wires out of the way, I will. But I've kind of tried to make it look, you know, I hate all spaghetti wires everywhere. So, as you can see there, you know, I've got everything in neat and tidy. I've got the exhaust tidy. There's no, you know, the only wires you're really going to see is what you plug into the battery. You know, and basically it's almost ready to go. It's all Loctited, but I'm just going to finish it off. You know, I'm not in a rush to run it. I know it'll run. So with that, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. So look after yourself, and I'll see you in the next one, when I hope I might have this running. See you later, guys.